Yeah.
The truth is, no one knows what the fuck they're talking about.
You go on a rabbit. Was it the first watch in space? No, because there's even
What?
before that.
Now,
Luckily, by refreshing the page after being the first 5 or 6 seconds, I managed to get myself a Smith.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good Happy New Year, Happy Dragon Year,
happy birthday.
Lucky year.
Happy Easter. I don't know when this episode's coming out. So welcome to a new episode of Touch My Clock, again in the home setting, while the dog is escaping the set. And today we thought we were going to talk about watch myths. So myths you kind of see online, like this watch did this first, or all these classic things you see on the internet, all these lies that are being drilled into your head to make you buy new watches, kind of going to talk about. That's kind of the idea. So, shall we start first of all with a wrist check? Max, as you're being distracted, would you like to?
Yeah, sure.
There's plenty of room here, Poochie. There's plenty of room. You just make yourself comfortable. And I have a new hat.
There you go. Okay, so what are you wearing? Oh my God, this is this dog.
I'm wearing my faithful Mr. Jones and...
Where's you go, mate?
The faithful Mr. Jones.
I'm wearing my faithful Mr. Jones. This one is a beautiful illustration of...
This is why we can't film anything.
Nothing like a bit of home filming.
She's happy now. This is my Mr. Jones, my faithful Mr. Jones. This has a beautiful illustration of a tiger, and within the tiger's like a fur pattern, basically. You can read the minute, and within the moon, you can read the hours. Again, I've talked about Mr. Jones loads of times.
We love Mr.
I don't want to sound more commercial than I need to be, but they are just, again,
great,
fantastic watches.
London-based company. They make really cool independent watches.
Yeah, and I got this one engraved tiger in Singapore for when I left for Singapore.
It's engraved on the back.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's engraved tiger in Singapore, which is mythologically Singapore comes from this idea of seeing that tiger beer as well. Pretty cool. Cool. Jason, what do you have?
Well, I've been shopping and I've bought a little piece that I think you're going to find quite cute.
Really?
It is indeed one of those fabulous Houdinky collaborations. Have you ever heard of LMM?
Who?
LMM.
Who?
Le Montmorency. It is indeed the hand-wound Le Montmorency Houdinky edition. And I think what's really cute about this, it has that, oh my word, three-dimensional sort of depth and some very clever typography. As a little
is that bracelet?
Helvetica.
Did you put that bracelet on yourself?
It came with it.
Really?
It was time for a new bracelet, but of course I had to show it to you guys before I could, pimp up my ride. Helvetica, Hoffler, a little bit Auric numerals. I love the blue hands. And at the bottom, I think it turns around and says, Merci Paris, Houdinky, New York.
I can read it. Yeah, Merci Paris, Houdinky, New York.
So there you go.
Cool.
A lovely little piece. It's a 42-hour reserve, hand-wound, 3-dial. Nice, little, cute, and a very reasonable,
3 dials on it?
very reasonable price.
How many
3
dials
hands.
Okay.
Yeah, I would hope so.
So there we go. Le Mont Merci, a little bit of French in this episode, n'est-ce pas?
That's pretty cool, actually. I didn't expect that.
How much?
This was actually sub 600. Yeah,
which means
very
$599.
reasonable.
$599.
Very reasonable. Even that. That's cute. A little.
I don't know.
No, it's a Swiss movement.
Okay.
It's a Swiss movement, 42-hour reserve. A nice little touch to Houdinky. I think
collaborations are really cool.
Bit of humour and really well designed.
I like they tried on the strap, but it really doesn't fit the watch.
Yeah,
that would be nice on a calfskin type.
Yeah, exactly.
Suede.
Need some leverage.
A little suede on
suede,
that.
yeah.
Very
suede
subtle colour, I think, would be quite stunning.
All right, so for me, I'm wearing the trusty Speedmaster Reduced. This might be because of what I'm going to talk about later, but we will see. Moonwatch.
Here's the hint.
Well, people, will probably not call this a Moonwatch because it's the reduced version, so it's got the automatic caliber So it's mainly sold for the Japanese market. But yeah, so what you get me?
Imagine being called something reduced.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the reduced.
Yeah, but it's reduced because of the size. The size of it.
Yeah,
the classic Speedmaster was 42 mil, and this is reduced to 38.
Oh,
which is a
I
better
thought it was
wear.
reduced because it was.
No.
It's a poor terminology. Yeah.
But it's
It doesn't
reduced
mean
because of the
watch
small
isn't good.
size. But it
It's
makes it
right.
really wearable. It's really a beautiful watch. It works fantastically. And the really nice thing is, well, actually interesting, of probably why you might see it on camera later, why the pushers and the crown are not on the same level is because they basically have their base model of the movement, and they added an automatic module on top. So it's not integrated, which is why you have the pushers at a different level than the crown. There's a little bit of fun fact. Maybe I'm wrong.
My favorite Speedy, if I ever had to splurge and get a Speedy, would be the Tokyo Olympic 2021. We'll put a picture up, but it's beautiful. It's white dial, it's red bezel.
Yeah.
There's a bit of the fun history of it never happened, but it's still there. I love that one.
But again, I find it's a cool version that you can get online for the cheap price. Because if you get a professional, a watch professional, in stores they're what now? 7,000-8,000? You go on eBay, you find these reduced, you'll find them around 2,000. They have loads of models, loads of racing models, and it's actually really interesting. So that way you can get a little bit of a Speedmaster for a more affordable price. So watch myths. Let's
Not watch smiths, but watch myths. What myths are we going to break?
Mike, would you like to test? You watch myths?
Yeah, I can.
I feel like this is a recurring theme within the TMC universe, but we talk about diving watches quite a bit, and we talk about the myths and the facts. And I'll be honest, a lot of the episodes I went through and I realized some of the inaccuracies that I've said. And I know that during this episode, I'm still going to say some inaccuracies, and that's okay, because there's only so much that you can research without going through patents and reading patents and trusting experts that read patents. So a lot of what I'm going to say is based on a bit of research from a fantastic watch investigator, I guess you can call him, Perescope. He investigates some of the biggest frauds within the watch industry. The latest one would be the fake Omega, or the Omega that sold for X amount of millions.
Oh, yeah.
So he was the one, the detective that kind of figured this out. So why diving? Because there are levels to this. If you get into watches and you're interested in diving watches, they will say, oh, the Rolex Submariner was the first diving watch, as a very surface level one. And then when you spend a little bit more time, they turn around and they say, that's only for amateurs. Right? The real first diving watch was the Zodiac Seawolf. And then when you go deeper, they go, no, it was the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. And the truth is, no one knows what the fuck they're talking about.
You go in a rabbit hole of who's who.
But because no one wants to really define what the flying a diving watch is, that at a very simple level, there are different criterias that now constitute a proper diving watch. So you would consider a diving watch something that's subaquatic, so something that can hold up to 200 meters of water resistance, 20 atmos, as we've discussed in other episodes. It has to be relatively sealable. There are different ways of sealing it with the gasket, etc., but relatively sealable. And generally speaking, there's a rotating bezel that will give you, an indication of time for your decompression time. So I'll put all of these up on the screen, but I wanted to show something to you guys today. This is
timeline.
Somewhat of a timeline, and I'll refine it for the viewers later. But somewhat of a timeline
32. Wow.
where it divides it in, and this photocopier didn't work well because it cut half of it off. But
Professionals were,
when the watch was released to market, yes, when it was used for industrial purposes. This is a really important key aspect that no one really talks about. Because when Blancpain 50 Fathom says, we are the first ones to make a diving watch, I mean, they weren't even technically the first ones to make a diving watch for industrial purposes, but they refer back to industrial times. They don't refer to when it's released into the market. So when you look at the Rolex Submariner, it was developed as early as 1951. So there are records of people using it in 1951, but it was put into market in 1954. And because they were waiting for the patent to be approved, etc. To this point, I think watch brands started to copy each other. severely. Like, this was the moment where they were like, all right, we realized that Rolex is starting to do this, so we need to start doing this as well. For context, Rolex in 1926, with Mercedes Gleiser promoting it, basically created one of the first iterations of the waterproof case. And that's why I also have these two here. So I've got 1916 and 1926, because to me, there is a difference between having a watch that is waterproof and having a watch that's a diver. If you're really considering a waterproof watch, you can go back to even 1916 for a brand called Submarine. However, when you look at the advertisements, or at least I can find any, they won't tell you can go to a specific depth.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, you need to have a specific depth. Yes, so wash your hands.
You can wash your hands with it, basically.
Well, no, you could. The army used this for proper diving, but back in
there
the
was
day,
no depth rating.
no, back in the day, divers wouldn't go further than like 20 meters or something. Like, it was very rare to go further than 30. The Omega Marine, I think, is a really important watch to highlight in terms of a watch brand that still exists, that I believe would be considered, if you exclude the rotating bezel aspect, I think it's important, but if you exclude it, the Omega Marine has to be mentioned, because it's something 20 years before even the Rolex started to come out. Radio Mir by Panerai, loads of examples, but they were all for the army, so it is in market.
Let's look at the Jaeger looking with that glass case. That's
so
cool.
It's really nice, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Amazing.
So the way it worked is, it was basically a strap.
It was like a strap.
Connects into each other.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
It's awesome.
They should redo that design, actually. Wouldn't that be nice? A small little tank like that. As a strap for ladies. Even for men, I would wear that.
Oh, it'd be amazing. But yeah, so there really isn't a first diving watch, because there are so many diving watches. It's just when do you just draw the line? Is it the first one that's accredited for a depth rating, the first one with a rotating bezel, first one with a specific type of gasket? It gets boring. Anyways, I don't think it matters. I think what matters is, do you like the watch? It's got a bit of history. Cool.
Buy it.
You know,
it's true. History is one of the main selling points in most brands. I mean, that's how it's done.
It is how it's done, which is, I love the brands that will push for innovation rather than being like...
So that's why I take everything with a grain of salt and do your research.
Yeah, which
real
again,
importance.
Another point, f*** you Blancpain, because the Blancpain and the Zodiac came out at the same time, and the Zodiac could perform twice as good as the Blancpain. So I'm sorry, but if you really want to start...
What would you rather have on your wrist?
You get a swatch. What's the depth rating? Think about no, don't kill me. What's the depth rating of a Swatch Blancpain? I don't know. I'm asking genuinely. I don't know.
It's going to appear.
Oh, didn't they pick a really random number, like 66 meters or something? Because instead of 55 fathoms, it's 50 fathoms or something.
66
millimeters.
I don't know. Okay, but anyway, that's fine. All right, so
that's the first watch myth.
Okay, so the second watch myth. Now, I actually took a little bit of your advice. I had a Smith's Commando watch, which is sold by a company called Time Factors. And very much like Studio Underdog or Rolex, the interesting love of the second-hand market, they go for so much more money than if you can actually get.
Yeah, they don't
but Time Factors release once a month only a few selected models, and within a minute they're all sold out. So I did actually sell my Commando, and I think because we wanted the real sort of integrity depth of Everest, because Max and I went to Everest Base Camp. So it's got some particular memories. And of course, the story is that, Rolex have always claimed that, they're the first watch up there. But actually, there are reports that although he did have, Edmund Hillary had a Rolex in his pocket, he had in fact...
Oh, God, you bought one.
He had in fact an Everest on his wrist. So luckily, by refreshing the page after being the first 5 or 6 seconds, I managed to get myself the time Smith's Everest.
Okay, well,
and this I think probably does have. So I think it's a really, really good call. It is a honeycomb dial. It's got Everest on the. It's still got the plastics on. It's got Everest on the actual dial itself. On the reverse, it's got the Mountain of Everest. So I think that's a really good souvenir memory of our time going to base camp. And of course, 1953, first ascent. This was on Edmund Hillary's wrist. And
is it his wrist or in his pocket?
The Rolex was in his pocket. Well, there are many. Actually, if you research it well,
Which one was in his
there are many stories that he had them both in his pocket, which is frustrating for both brands. There are some reports that he actually had the Smiths on his hand and not the Rolex. But certainly, both of them were at the kind of same time. And this one's quite cute. It's got a Jubilee bracelet and dial.
But was this the design?
No, didn't look like
It, it's very.
it was like this white dial,
Yeah.
very simple dress watch
From
from
Smith.
Smiths. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one.
So
I'm
why,
sure you can
why
show another
did you
picture.
buy? Why did you buy the?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Why would you get this one then? If this one is a
Because it
copy of
looks
the
like a
This is
Rolex.
because this is
It looks
this
like a
is this is the.
It seriously looks like a
no,
Rolex.
this is the new version.
But I thought the whole point was watch
let's
myths.
just-
The
let's
myth is that Smiths was the first one up there
was
with
the
their
first one
own
up.
design. So why did you take a Rolex design?
Because this is because they're both very similar designs at the time. They had these hands, and I think what was really quite interesting on this particular one is that this is a modern version of the rest of it. I'm really honest with you. When it comes to vintage watches, I just simply adore quartzes because they do keep good time. And a number of the vintage watches I've bought, they're being cute, but the timing's terrible, and you have to get them serviced. So I wanted a modern version, and I just think it's a nice homage to that story of being the first watch up there.
It's nice. The nice thing is that it's British.
Yeah,
So you got Great Britain on the there.
that's Time Facts have brought out some really.
I always love when you get.
good,
Yeah, I know, but it's
interesting,
nice when you get
good
brands like
interesting
that.
watches.
I don't get that watch at all.
I think we have to find a picture of what the original one looks
Yeah,
like.
because if the original one was
and compare
different,
it to this,
then why
we can ask.
So Smith copied Rolex just because Rolex copied them. It's
I don't know.
Which is very clever.
I don't know, but it's cool at least. It's better than the Commando because at least this is the.
There you are.
This is the
So I
everything.
thought that a little bit more authenticity and a little bit of nod and memory. And there you go. So who was first up there?
That's your watchman.
Thank you.
Is that the last
That's
watch you
my
got?
watchsmith.
The last one you got?
Yes.
You got another surprise.
No, that's it.
So from what I read, it was the Rolex. There was another model of the Rolex that they didn't wear. Both Hillary and Tenzing Norway were at the top with a Smiths, but Rolex basically paid them to say that they were wearing
Their entire
the Explorer.
their climbing
Only
crew all had
later
Rolexes.
did
Yeah,
they
that
design
came
the
out.
Explorer.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I wrote it on. It's
I'm
working
pretty
after.
sure. Yeah.
But anyway, there you go.
Another myth busted.
Was it?
Well,
Okay.
not sure, but
I feel like we got confused there.
so my watch myth. I'm not going to talk about everything about space, which is why I've got, you can see Snoopy. I'm 60 now, and I'm wearing the Speedmaster. So I'm going to talk about space. So everyone, first of all, is saying, okay, Speedmaster was the first on the moon. Is it true? Is it true? Okay, it is. It is true.
Yay!
Story over.
So much for the myth buster.
Did it, Omega?
That's the end
Pigs
of the episode.
in
You're correct. But
space!
the myth is about all the other watches that came before that. First of all, after the Speedmaster, loads of people wore watches in space. There was the Fortis that was in there. The GMT Master 2 was worn in space. But there was
About
the
the
first
Hound.
on the moon.
About the hound.
You'll see. There was the first on the moon, but what was the first watch in space? So Breitling said that they had the first watch in space, except it was the first Swiss watch that was in space, which was the Breitling Cosmonaut. So this is the watch.
Yeah.
This is the first Swiss watch, won by Scott Carpenter. And he had this hand design so that he could use the watch a bit easier over his gloves once he was flying. But this was the first Swiss watch in space. But-
So the first Swiss watch was a chronograph?
Yes.
Oh, cool. See, no, that was my pick for my favorite pilot's watch. I didn't know
Yeah.
that it was the first was a
Yeah,
chronograph.
which is a surprising fact. So that was the first Swiss watch in space. But which one was the first watch in space in general? Well, actually, then you go a bit backwards. And now we have the Poljot Strada, which is this watch, which was technically the first watch outside of the capsule space. So the astronaut Alexei Launov wore this watch on his wrist, and he actually exited the capsule for 12 minutes. And that was the first person outside of the capsule to wear a watch, which you could say was the first watch in space, technically. But was it the first watch in space? No, because there's even
What?
before that.
No way.
Now, you have Yuri Gagarin, which was the first cosmonaut to go in space. By the way, small difference, cosmonauts from the Russian space agency and astronauts from NASA. That's the difference. Cosmonaut and astronaut.
Poochie, this could be your moment.
Yuri Gagarin, wore this, which is the MC1HZ, I think. It's not the exact one, but this is the watch that he wore on his face first time he went to space. He was the first person to go into space, and he wore this inside of his capsule. So he didn't actually go outside in open air space, but this was the watch he wore. So now
I can't believe you have the watch you wore. That's crazy. How much did you spend?
It's not exactly, but anyway, the Russian aficionados of horology will tell me this is a fake. But anyway, it uses loads of different parts. I don't have the money to buy the real one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very nice piece, and I really enjoy it. Actually, it's really nice. So that was the first watch worn by National in space. But is that really the first?
Are you saying there's more?
There's more. Because actually, 1 month before his mission on Vostok 1 into space, there was a certain scientist called Genin. So now they've called this the Genin watch. So Abraham Genin. And they launched a rocket with a dog first.
That's it, Poochie.
Which
your
is
moment.
The dog was called Chinuska, or Blackie.
You could.
It's the name, it's not me. And actually, just before the launch, the astronaut, so Abraham Genin, was looking at his wrist, and this was a watch that he had that he was gifted during the army. And he said he got bored of the watch after using it for so many years, so he decided, from what the story's right, to strap it on the dog and hopefully never see it again.
Oh my god!
But here's the lovely, amazing, ironic part: is that actually the mission went successively. The dog survived because the spacesuit went back on ground, and he got his watch back.
Wow!
And this was the watch that was strapped on the dog's wrist, which is a Poveda watch, which you can find these very affordable online if you'd like to get one.
So the
Under
first
100
watch in space was worn
So
by
this
a
is
dog.
technically the first watch that was in space, and it
Hoorah,
was
Poochie.
worn by a dog.
That's amazing.
So you can see.
I see why she joined us now.
Yeah, exactly. She wanted to be included. So this is why you get all these myths about, I was the first here, but there's always little specifications of why it wasn't really, and there was maybe some before. So that's
very cool.
That's the space myths on my side.
Well done, guys. Absolutely fabulous episode. Remember, you've got to
Like.
and to
Subscribe.
and comment. Keep watching. Keep viewing.
Tell us
Poochie.
your watch myths.
Yeah.
What have we missed, and can we make another episode? Maybe.
Maybe a part 2. On a part 2?
Absolutely. And anything you guys want to see, remember, comment. Love to hear from you. See you again soon. Take care.
Cheers, boy.
Bye bye.